The MMO player is elusive as they are majestic. There are times where we thought that they may have gone extinct. Not unlike the pygmy blue-tailed skink, they are rarely seen leaving their burrows, only sticking their head out of their dwellings when in need of food. The MMO player often lines their dwellings with waste to scare off potential predators. In rare occasions, the MMO player can be found in herds, migrating to conventions in hopes of finding a mate or their next yearly shirt. The MMO player, while reclusive, are prone to irrational behavior. If you find one in the wild, it is best to keep your distance.
Get rid of that one too. We got a lot to do.
I've played MMOs for most of my life, on and off for years. My first trip into MMOs was a walk through the dark portal. Myself, like many of you, my first MMO was World of Warcraft. I played the game for many years, many expansions, but eventually ended up having to walk away from the game due to real life responsibility, friends, school, all of that. After years away, I end up dipping my toe back into the genre with Lost Ark, eventually landing on my main game, Final Fantasy XIV. But after years spent away from playing MMOs, there was always this draw to come back and play them, and I resisted with all my might. And now, after playing MMOs again, thinking back on the resistances, thinking back on the time that I spent away from MMOs, I'm sitting here wondering whether or not MMOs were good or bad for me. So that's the point of this video. We're going to explore whether MMOs are good or bad for us. There's always been a lot of negative connotations to playing MMOs. We've seen them in the media, we've seen them online, we've seen them from our friends. But we also know the benefits that are there as well for MMOs. So let's discuss this and see where we come out at the end. One of the most significant benefits to playing MMOs is the people. Players can interact with each other in real time, forming friendships and relationships that can last for years. I mean, some of my best friends are those that I've made through playing video games. Mark, the other guy on this channel, we've been friends for 17 years, starting back on Call of Duty. This sense of belonging can be especially important for those who have difficulty making friends or fitting in. The ability to connect with others who share similar interests to you and hobbies can help individuals feel less alone and more connected to the world around them. While I started playing World of Warcraft, I was every bit of an awkward teenager. Sure, I had friends, however, I wasn't the most outgoing person by any means. Building and maintaining social connections can be difficult for just about anyone. However, MMOs provided a safe space for me to figure out how to do that. Those interpersonal relationship skills are developed even further when we start developing teamwork and collaboration skills. MMOs require players to work together. Whether it's defeating bosses, taking down raids, taking down dungeons, completing quests together, and overcoming any other type of challenge, this really helps people develop important teamwork and collaboration skills, as well as even networking skills, which can be really valuable in real-life situations. I would imagine most gamers are probably not making this correlation, but if you've ever applied for a static in Final Fantasy XIV, or interviewed for a raid position in World of Warcraft, you've already started to develop those interpersonal connection skills, as well as those networking skills that are necessary for you to be able to find a job. Once you know how to present yourself, how to present proper information of how qualified you are, that's the same thing that you're doing in both situations. There are a ton of other social benefits to playing an MMO. If you think about it, where else can you meet such a variety of people from different cultures? Increasing cultural awareness and empathy is something that just kind of naturally happens when playing an MMO. You have to think about just how diverse these communities are. People from different backgrounds in all different places around the world. Interacting with these people can really help you understand them and empathize with them, as we all have the same interests and we all love the same things. MMOs are also great at fostering creativity and self-expression. Many MMOs provide us with a large range of customization options, sadly enough, most of them through a store. However, still, we can make ourselves appear how exactly we want to. We can pick the kind of class that we want to play. We can pick the way that our gear looks. This allows players to be able to express themselves, their individuality, in a virtual setting, where some people may not be a leader or a top performer in sports or the workplace. They might find themselves uninhibited in this virtual world, realizing a potential that they may have never saw in themselves to begin with. Sometimes the success in a game can very well lead to confidence in real-life endeavors. Providing a sense of belonging and identity for many players, their MMO character can be a source of that identity and belonging, especially if they're in a tight-knit community. This can be particularly important for players that may feel isolated or marginalized in real life. Overall, playing MMOs can give you a range of social benefits, from building and maintaining social connections to fostering creativity and self-expression, developing skills that you can easily use in the real world, whether professionally or interpersonally. It would be a major miss if we didn't discuss the major psychological benefits that we get from playing MMOs. And no, I'm not talking about those sweet loot drops. No, I'm talking about escapism. Newsflash, you're not the only one that plays MMOs for escapism. Many people use them to unwind after a long day or distract ourselves from stress and anxiety. In some cases, it can be even therapeutic. The ability to escape the pressures and challenges of real life can be incredibly beneficial for individuals who are dealing with mental health issues or some other form of stress. Back in 2020, I wanted to avoid all political and social anarchy, stepping away from social media, the news, and just about anything related to the world at the time. It was exactly what I needed to keep myself sane. Whether it's for reasons like mine or for personal reasons, taking a break from real life goes a long way to relieving stress. Now, while I believe it's more of the social and the psychological benefits that are the positive sides of MMOs, we can't also ignore the potential benefits of just learning how to do basic problem solving. MMOs, in a sense, can be educational, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Teaching players new skills and providing them opportunities to use problem solving and critical thinking. Many MMOs require players to work together to complete difficult objectives, which can be helpful for individuals developing teamwork and communication skills. Additionally, these games often require strategic thinking and planning, which can help improve cognitive function and problem-solving abilities. MMOs can provide a better understanding of statistics through parsing, a strong ability to recognize patterns through fights with bosses and raids, and shape up those typing skills while you're venting your frustrations on, about the game on Reddit or Twitter. Now, the reason why I don't think this last point is very impactful is because the majority of players are either using add-ons, they're using online strategies, and they're just really not thinking for themselves. Most players just look for the meta build, get the meta build, go to the fight, and execute the fight that they've seen on a video. Outside of that, they're not really doing very much planning or really using any strategy. You can fight with me on that if you want, but I'm being honest, as someone that has done the same thing for I don't even know how long, there's smarter people than me. Those are the people that are benefiting. We're smooth-brained. So while there are many benefits to MMOs, there are some pretty significant drawbacks. And it's about time that we got into those now. We have to talk about the most obvious drawback. One of the most significant issues with playing MMOs is the potential for addiction. MMOs are designed to be immersive and engaging, and some players find it difficult to stop playing once they've started. This can lead to a host of issues, including neglect of responsibilities, poor sleeping habits, and lack of physical exercise. In extreme cases, this can lead to issues with your family, social issues, loss of work, developing mental health issues, or even just general health issues. Back in the day when I used to play World of Warcraft, I can't tell you how many times I skipped out on homework, going to high school and college events, hanging out with friends, applying for jobs, and even spending time with my family. World of Warcraft provided me an escape from all sorts of responsibilities. Now, I don't blame World of Warcraft for the mistakes that I made. I don't blame World of Warcraft for the first time that I dropped out of college. I blame myself. I have to take personal responsibility for that. However, MMOs are designed to be engaging and keep you hooked. If you're not strong enough to differentiate which responsibilities you have that are more important, your real life ones or your video game ones, that's on you. Another major drawback to MMOs is that they can be a breeding ground for toxic behavior. In a game that has thousands, if not millions of players, there are bound to be some who engage in bullying, harassment, and other forms of negative behavior. This can have a significant impact on other players' mental health, causing them to feel isolated, anxious, and depressed. Additionally, the anonymity of online gaming can make it really difficult to hold individuals accountable for their behavior, especially when you're playing a game that may or may not actually act upon its ban system and reporting systems. I wasn't exposed to toxic behavior in MMOs until I played Final Fantasy XIV. Now, this is not something that is exclusive to Final Fantasy XIV. This is something that exists in all MMOs. However, this is just the first time that I was exposed to it. When I first started raiding in Final Fantasy XIV as a freshly clipped sprout, I ran into some interesting characters. I ran into a static leader that was incredibly passive-aggressive. They wouldn't tell you that you were underperforming. I wasn't using parsing at the time, by the way. And they wouldn't guide you when you were doing something wrong. Instead, they would just take to the rest of the static behind your back and say things to them that would eventually revolve around to you. I also had static members and another static that went to Twitter and created an entire burn book, basically, about me on their thread. Constantly posting almost every single day about how much they don't like me, how much they don't want to play with me anymore, and even talking about me personally. You know what? I got one even better. Let's have some story time. Back in the Shadowbringers expansion of Final Fantasy XIV, I joined a static whose leader was a streamer. I'm air quoting because they had about 5 to 10 people watching their stream at a time. On my first day of tryout, my first time attempting the raid tier, while progging the fight, for the first time ever, I was pulled into a private channel on Discord with the static leader. He told me what I can and cannot say, how I need to not embarrass him, how I need to do my absolute best. He then gave me a speech about how great of a judge of people he is, how he sees great strength in me, and how I need to step up to the plate. By the way, him and I have never talked before, or met. This is our first conversation ever. The raid experience was middling. We had a few wipes, and then we eventually cleared. My second night raiding with the static, there was an announcement in the Discord. Apparently the static leader had tried to set the moves on one of the married women in the static. It failed. He claimed everyone was out to get him. He stole everything from the free company's bank, deleted the Discord, and disbanded the static. Classy, classy guy. These toxic interactions can really build up over time. Whether it's stuff that is either aimed at you, or it's aimed at somebody else that you're close to, or it's just aimed around you, or it's something you see online, you start to correlate that with real life engagement. Whether you have the mental fortitude, or maybe you even have mental health issues, sometimes these things can be a serious detriment. For me, it's not really ever bothered me. I mean, obviously I'm on YouTube, so I'm used to people saying some pretty heinous stuff about me. To usually, by the way, my reaction is, keep commenting, you fools! The views, they keep rolling in because of you. Give me your hate. I feed on it! Thanks for the money. The impact of MMOs on mental health is a very complex issue that depends on a great variety of factors, including the individual player, the game being played, and that player's overall lifestyle. While there are many potential benefits to playing MMOs, there also are a lot of risks and significant impacts to people's lives. Whether or not playing MMOs is really good or bad for you is completely dependent on you, your habits, your personality, your lifestyle. At one time, MMOs were the last thing that I needed in my life. Today, I'm more balanced, matured, I find balance easier, and I value my time much more than I ever did when I was younger. MMOs are designed to be a long-term, long-time investment. You can make friends, develop skills, even make a living from it. MMOs have some of the greatest experiences in gaming. It's up to you whether or not you can handle it. So, I'm genuinely curious to hear about what you guys thought about the video, and I'm also really curious to hear about what games and what MMOs you guys are playing. We've had a pretty significant influx of new people into the channel, so I would like to get to know some of you guys. So, drop a comment down below. If you say anything hateful, it's okay. But still, I'm curious. Love you guys. See you next time.